For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles. I'm flying solo and I'm talking about Snow White. Yeah, this is kind of a post-mortem on Snow White. Apparently Snow White is a bigger box office bomb than Joker 2. So that is some impressive feat, Disney. We're gonna talk about this and talk about just how much money Disney has potentially lost. Now, weirdly enough, there's another Snow White movie out this weekend, I believe in limited release. It's a horror movie, and it actually looks pretty good. It looks more interesting than the Disney Snow White. So there's that too. That did not take a bite into her apple. That sounds so bad. Really, it was just a bunch of other movies that came out, knocked her completely out of the top 10. And the reason we cover this, people are like, God, we're so sick of Snow White. The reason we cover this is Snow White is indicative of everything that's wrong with modern day Disney. Now, because of the failure of Snow White, my understanding is that Disney's going to pull back considerably on doing more live action remakes. Lilo and Stitch comes out this month. That one actually looks pretty okay. And I think it'll do pretty okay at the box office. I don't see that one failing as hard as this one. But this had everything going against it. And also a motor mouth starlet who would not shut the hell up. And when she was told to shut the hell up, which definitely did not help their box office at all. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. This comes from MSN via Collider. Snow White stumbles past final global box office milestones after disastrous theatrical run. Approved, vetted mainstream media, guys. I believe that's a Valnet site, so you have to believe it. But they are saying this is a flop. This isn't just YouTubers. This movie is a disaster, and they're saying it's actually worse than Joker 2. So let's look at this. They said Zegler was unfairly blamed for the failure of the movie. Like, look, she did not do it any favors. Let's put it that way. Do I think people skipped it just because of Rachel Zegler and the stuff she said? No. Again, this movie was a perfect disaster of everything that's wrong with modern day Disney. She just threw kerosene on the bonfire and things went boom, right? And people just noped out for many reasons. She also was in West Side Story. They're pointing out, and that was a bomb too. But anyway, they have to disclaim that. All these mainstream media outlets, it's so weird. They can't just talk about like, oh yeah, guys, this movie bombed, because they don't want to sound like one of us. They don't want to sound like a YouTube chud. So they always put this big lengthy disclaimer like, it's not her fault, guys. It's just the macroeconomic circumstances and the headwinds. And, it rained that weekend. And we're not blaming Rachel Zegler. But behind the scenes, they're totally blaming Rachel Zegler, at least in part 4. They are, right? I mean, come on. Come on. This thing, like every damn headline about this movie has been negative. They said with $85 million domestically and around $150 million from overseas markets, the film's global box office haul now stands at exactly $200 million. Wow. Big bucks, no whammies. It's mainly a cosmetic achievement, as the movie's production budget has been reported to be as high as $250 million. I have heard people say add another 100 to that. It would have had to make at least $500 million worldwide in order to break even, going by the rule of thumb that movies this size need to gross twice their budgets to start turning a profit. So there are people out there that are like, that's not true. If a movie costs $200 million and it makes $201 million, it made a profit. No, dumbass. It did not, because the theaters get a cut. And there are taxes, well, yeah, the studio's very good at not paying taxes. They spread it around, but you know what I'm saying? Like there are a lot of expenses. They do spend money on marketing. You're never going to get an exact figure on how much a movie costs, because there is this thing called Hollywood accounting, which is very real. And they basically make movies look like they underperformed if they overperformed. And in some cases, some movies are loss leaders. This one's definitely going to be a loss leader for Disney. They can say, well, we don't have to pay as much in taxes on the theme park revenue because Snow White was a huge failure. And that's one of the advantages they have in a big company like Disney is you can have losers over here that offset the winners over here. So people are like, why do they keep making shitty movies? Like, I don't think they make shitty movies intentionally, but if they have a bomb, they will use it to their advantage as well, right? Snow White is the biggest bomb of the year. Even last year's Joker Folie à Deux made $207 million worldwide. Reportedly, Warner Brothers spent nearly $100 million, $150 million in that, according to Deadline. So yeah, Joker was not as expensive. Weirdly, it was a hell of a lot more expensive than the first one, but it still made more money than Snow White. So cheaper movie, more revenue, I guess profit. I don't know if Joker 2 made profit. I mean, the first one made a hell of a lot of profit because it was a cheap movie. It was like, what, $50 or $100 million movie? Relatively cheap. I mean, it's more money than I'll ever see, but it was relatively cheap movie. And it made like $1 billion worldwide. Second one sucked. So people didn't like it. Snow White's final global box office haul will be lower than that of Cruella, which debuted day and date on the Disney Plus streaming service for a premium access fee during the pandemic. I forgot Cruella existed. And also Alice Through the Looking Glass, the sequel to the billion-dollar hit Alice in Wonderland. Again, this is another movie I forgot existed. I remember the first one pretty well because Pinky Boo watched it a lot when she was younger. And Cruella, I forgot. Other than the Blondie soundtrack, I don't know much about Cruella. It's been around a decade since Disney debuted a string of high-profile misfires, including Tomorrowland, John Carter, Mars Needs Moms. There's a Mars theme going on here, and The Lone Ranger. Directed by Mark Webb, who has experience with big-budget underperformers already. Snow White is a disappointment, not just commercially, but also critically. Are we allowed to say that? I think we need to be allowed to say that. Now, out of these movies, I'm going to be honest. I watched part of John Carter. I didn't think it was terrible. I just don't think people got it. Mars Needs Moms was pretty bad. It didn't feel like a Disney movie at all. Tomorrowland, I liked. I liked the first half of Tomorrowland because it was Brad Bird. It was a live action. Everything I loved about Disney and Disneyland, early Disneyland, like it was in that movie for the first hour. And then it got really dark. And really dark and dystopian. And I'm like, yeah, no, I hate this. I mean, that was the point of the movie, was that we had this optimistic view of the future in the 50s and 60s, and then it all went to shit. 70s rolled around, 80s rolled around, 90s, everything became very nihilistic. And that was the point of the movie. I don't think it was handled very well. But if they did like a whole Tomorrowland movie, like if you did a redo of that one, and you made it all retrofuturism, and it was all like Meet the Robinsons type, positive type vibes, and you bottled like early 60s Disney, I'd be all about it. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. But that's me. And nobody would go see it. Then they'd blame me, Disney is pinning its hopes on Lilo and Stitch. Yeah. Lilo and Stitch is going to make money. It's tracking for a huge 100 million plus opening later this month. So this is the thing. They're going to be a lot more careful with, which movies they greenlight, I think. Snow White just had everything going against it. And again, you've had better Snow White movies from studios outside of Disney that made more money. Even 10 years ago, was it Snow White and the Huntsman? I don't know. The other Snow White movie, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and I don't feel like Googling it. It's like The Death of Snow White, or Kill Snow White, or something, like Kill Dopey, Volume 1. I don't know. But look, I watched the trailer. A friend of ours, Sarah, sent it over yesterday, and I watched it, and I'm like, this looks hokey as hell, but they've got actual dwarf actors in it, and it doesn't really look terrible. It's not schlocky like the other public domain, the Winnie the Pooh and the Steamboat Willie and the Popeye and all that stuff, right? It was like, no, it seemed like they gave a shit about this one, and it doesn't look terrible. So this guy, Nerve Stomper, she was thrown under the bus after trolls targeted her. Who wrote this crap? Whoever works cheap wrote this crap, because that's not actually what happened. She antagonized people pretty much from the get-go. And Disney did not rein her in like they usually do, which was, I thought was weird. I thought that was weird because usually with their younger stars, and now maybe a lot of them have been through the Disney Channel system. Maybe they've been through the Diddy system, but they they knew when to keep their mouths shut and when to open their mouth wide. But a lot of the Disney stars, like you can tell, like Zendaya, she's not out there whacking the beehive, right? I don't think you don't see her saying dumb shit all the time. Maybe she does, but you don't hear about it. Not like Rachel Zegler. So maybe she just needed to go through the system, whatever, and hopefully come out sane on the other side of it. I think she's got, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think in this case, she might learn a thing or two. If her phone no longer rings because she's a liability and she's kind of getting the Ezra Miller treatment at this point, like, I could see her. She's going back to Broadway. I mean, she's a hell of a singer. She's really good. I mean, she's a really good singer. And I don't think her acting's terrible. You know what I'm saying? She's got to knock the political bullshit off. I mean, she can get her opinions out there, but she's basically calling everybody a bunch of Nazis and like that. That's not good. When you're Disney, you know, and like more than half of your audience historically has been conservative. It's not a good look, right? Just put the princess dress on. Don't complain about putting the princess dress on. That's all you had to do. She very blatantly tanked her own movie in an attempt at activism and thought everyone else would get blamed. No one else was running at their mouths. That's true. It wasn't unfairly blamed on her. It seems the author isn't aware of everything she's done publicly. She's the reason that a mediocre release flopped significantly harder. That's just it. It wasn't all her fault. I will go on record as saying that. This movie was ill-conceived and poorly executed. It wasn't all her fault, but she did throw kerosene on an already raging bonfire, and she could have actually helped get people on board for it. I mean, she could have kind of turned around and be like, well, yeah, the movie's kind of dumb, but well, don't say that. But then like, look, I'm going to act very princess-like in real life, and come on, everybody, I'm Snow White. I'm your Disney princess. Come see this movie. But yeah, she was, I mean, a year or two before the movie dropped, before she said the weird comments about the prince and all that jazz, she was bitching about having to put a princess dress on. And I'm like, there are cast members at Disney getting paid $14 an hour to sweat in the Florida heat. They would love to get paid the amount of money you are, sweetheart. Just shut up. It's just like, you have got to stop. Just stop. David Len Allen here says, not her first Disney-related bomb. West Side Story, she played Maria. Of course, Rachel has last name Zegler, which in German means bricklayer. Something she apparently does rather well. She played the over-exaggerated Latina card based on her second-generation European transplanted grandmother in Colombia. Okay, so this person's not happy about that. Yeah, she keeps playing up like, well, she said before they didn't believe she actually was Latina or La Tinkerbell. She had to like prove it, which is kind of weird. But this person says it wasn't her Palestine comment. She came out of the gate talking about how the original movie was terrible and went on to talk bad about the original. That was it. That happened before. They're going to say everything was political. She ramped it up to 11. People already didn't like her because she was dissing the original movie, which is one of, if not the greatest 2D animated accomplishment in the history of cinema. Snow White was the first full-length feature animation, and it still has, I mean, not only was it groundbreaking on a technical level, and I think people just take it for granted. Like, you don't understand. There was nothing like it when it came out. We had short cartoons with like rubbery characters, but there was nothing like this when it came out. It was mind-blowing to audiences back then. And the animation is still some of, if not the best in the history of everything Disney has done. Yeah, there's stuff that came later that was more polished, but it all came from Snow White. And the fact that they did this in the 1930s, that it was so fluid, and the character designs, a lot of them were very detailed. And I mean, it did not miss a beat. You didn't have really, I mean, there really weren't any flaws on a technical level in that movie. And a lot of that, I think, is thanks to Art Babbitt, who Disney had a falling out with. But it is an amazing feat of animation if you really look at it, right? And you really like, if you're an animation historian and you look really hard at this movie and just kind of just, you know, and again, remember, this is 1930s. you have no idea. You have no idea how mind-blowing it was and what a technical achievement it was and how beloved it is generation after generation. And then to have her come in and just be like, yeah, it was lame. I'm like, shut up. It's like the Disney as we know it owes everything to Snow White. Disney bet the farm on Snow White. And he won. He could have lost. He lost before. He had a studio that went bankrupt before this one. But they bet the farm. They won. This is the cornerstone of the Walt Disney Company as we've known it, and Disney Animation as we've known it, and you're taking a steaming shit on it. I mean, you might as well just go out there and say, hey, Mickey Mouse sucks cock or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's how bad it is. That is a stupid thing to say if you're a Disney princess. Just saying. Anyway, bigger flop than Joker 2. There we go. So, like, I gotta admit, I'm actually kind of surprised. I didn't expect it to be that big of a failure. Now, let's take a look at this weekend's numbers. And I don't know if we're going to do another video on this or not, but Thunderbolts did 76 million domestic. And, you know, it's not fantastic for Marvel, but it's not bad given that this was, you know, definitely like a C/D list team. And I think this one might actually have more legs because the word of mouth is actually pretty good. This is one of those movies where people might not flock to see it opening weekend because they're like, oh God, it's another Marvel movie. But once the word of mouth gets out there that this one's not terrible, some people might go see it. Some people are not going to go see it because they're checked out from Marvel completely, myself included. I'm checked out from Marvel. My wife and son went. They don't like love Marvel, but they were actually willing to give it a chance, and they both said it was pretty good. So we'll see what happens. Sinners was a massive success. Like, nobody saw that one coming. Same with Minecraft. Like, I don't even know if it's what kind of a job are these like industry analysts even going to have, because they've been so wrong about so many movies lately. I mean, they had Minecraft. They're like, yeah, Minecraft might make 60 million opening weekend. I'm like, you had no idea. You had no idea. Sinners might do okay. You had no idea. Accountant 2, I've never seen the first one, so I don't care one way or the other. What else we got here? King of Kings, which is still doing really good, 57 million. That's not bad for an indie animated, Christian animated movie. And Snow White's completely out of the top 11. Oh, and Rust came out. Remember that one? Alec Baldwin, you know, killed a person on. Yeah. They actually decided to release it, and it failed miserably. And most people probably thought it was already out or shelved, or they weren't going to go see it because somebody died. I mean, I don't want to go. I mean, I went to theater to go see The Crow, so I can't really, you know, say much about that. But like, does anybody want to go see a movie where like all you know about is it's a Western with Alec Baldwin and somebody died? But it was only in 115 theaters. It did 9,000 Friday, 10,000 Saturday, and 6,000 Sunday. That's awful. Anyway, gonna wrap it up. There we go. Snow White, huge failure. We all knew it. Just didn't know how bad it was. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.